Welcome to Debating Dating, a podcast with me, Mark Jennings.
And me, Rachel Graham.
We are two single friends. In every episode, we'll be discussing our differing perspectives on an aspect of modern dating.
We'll be sharing our honest insights and experiences as platonic pals who are not afraid to give each other the unvarnished truth.
Or laugh at each other's bullshit.
This week, we're going to be talking about the ick. Now, the ick is that feeling you get when there's someone, they do something, maybe they say something, and it just kind of gives you that weird, sick feeling in your stomach. It's quite unattractive, and you can't really get past it once you've got the ick. When they've done that certain thing or have that certain thing, you can't really get beyond it. You can't fancy them again because you've now got the ick. Would you agree that's it?
It's another one of these fucking modern terms that's like, you know, it basically just means when you get turned off by something, doesn't it? But,
yeah,
you know, it's like this.
It's a very specific feeling, I think.
Like it's one of these internet hangs into, oh, I got the ick, whatever. It's like, you get, you know, it's when you get turned off by something someone does and you instantly get that feeling of losing attraction for them, essentially. But it's just the modern internet slang for it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's pretty accurate. I think that it's a proper bottom of your stomach feeling of being like, oh, I can't deal with this. Actually, it's too late. It's gone past that point of no return. To
give it its due, the ick is a good phrase because it does accurately sum up what that feeling is, and everybody, you kind of know as soon as you hear it, you sort of understand what it's about. But I don't know, just the older millennial in me is just like, these Gen Zers, these Zoomers with their bloody ick and their other fucking fancy Dan phrases. Back in my day, it was just getting turned off by somebody.
I'm all about it, but obviously I'm much younger than you. But yeah, and I think as well, everyone has experienced the ick. And it's really ridiculous. I think the things that people get the ick for just actually logically doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know it as soon as you've got it that you're like, oh, that's it. That's the ick.
Yeah.
And we put on our social media, what was the weirdest thing that gave you the ick or put you off someone? And we actually got so many responses that we thought that this episode we would kind of focus on everyone's submissions, and kind of listen to listeners' submissions and kind of talk about them and how either ridiculous they are or maybe that we completely agree that is really ick-worthy.
Yeah, and we got this one which we'll start off, which was someone who basically just lists like an arm's length version of things that give them the ick. So here we go, we'll start with this one.
I have got the ick so many times. So one time, I opened the wardrobe, they had the squared Kenzo and the Couture Club. And check trousers with the stripe down the side, which absolutely no, because what's the point in the stripe? But it was like really obvious branding and not discreet, and I can't deal with that. Another time someone ordered Papa John's and I was like, nah. Another time they liked cats and I absolutely couldn't deal with that. Another time they were unemployed and I was like, can't, just got no drive to get out of bed. Or one was to do with what someone's washing detergent, like they use like Ariel and I didn't like the smell of it.
Imagine getting the ick because someone ordered a Papa John's.
Oh, I understand that.
I mean, it is shite, Papa John's.
Shit. Why, if you're not investing in a Domino's, I don't want to know.
Do you know, I wouldn't say this gave me the ick, but I definitely, one time, somebody I used to get with had never been to Nando's before. And this was like in recent years, like in the last 2 years or something, I was like, I don't think this is going to work.
I think there was a lot of good points in that last one, by the way. Like, I totally agree with him. I think that I get put off if guys are really into their cats. Like, as soon as I see that, I'm like, oh, and I think some people like that, but I just think about like the hair. I also think like people who are really into their animals, let them lick their face and stuff. So I think that's totally valid.
I quite like a cat actually, but I don't, I think a dog, especially like a big dog. Like, I remember there was this lassie's one time and she had this big massive dog and it just wouldn't stop like chasing you around the house and just jumping on top of you at the point. And she would leave the door open for it to come into the bedroom. And like, oh, no. I was too scared to like take off my clothes in case the dog got me. And she ended up having to put it out. And it's like, I think that gave her the ick, to be honest, being like, oh my God, this guy's scared of my dog. But to be honest, it was like massive and it was jumping all over the place. And that's a big hate of mine actually as well, like dog owners who like, like, you know, they just let their dog jump all over you and like do it, and especially if it's like kids or something. And like when I was young, I was scared of dogs, and like, and then like they just don't do anything to try and control their dog, and they just go, oh, sorry about that. Oh, she doesn't bite, she's friendly, and you're like, ah, fuck off! Like this big monster's just attacked me.
Yeah, I feel like that about cats. In that, like, I found as well, like if a cat wants to get in a room, especially if you're like in a room like with your person, with your
Special
partner,
person.
your special relationship person, like if a cat wants in that room, it's gonna get in that room, and that really freaks me out. Like that they'll sometimes they pure like go for the door, like they just
Yeah.
whack themselves into it, and it's scary.
Scratch it and just constantly cry until they get let in, basically. And sometimes they
Yeah.
can just open the door. It's weird.
I know.
But so that he lists a few things here. We've got this other one as well here, which was another example of just one thing that turned them off.
Hands and arms are a big thing. If they've got veins, we like to see it. It's really hot. If their fingernails are too long, though, I don't care how many veins you got, I don't want to see it. I will run away if they've got long fingernails.
So it's important to say that they submitted what they like to begin with. So they're really attracted to nice arms, veiny arms, sexy man hands, but that they don't like long fingernails.
Yeah. I think this long fingernails thing, right, is a bit of a double standard when it comes to men and women, right? Because, like, I remember, like, so one of my mates was telling me that his girlfriend asked him, oh, like, what would you do if I decided to grow out my armpit hair or something, right? And he's like, well, you know, I mean, it's your body, you can do what you want, but obviously I wouldn't really like it. I don't think it's that attractive or whatever. And she was a bit like, oh my God, I can't believe that, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, well, to be fair, like, how would you feel if I, as a man, just started growing my fingernails long? Do you know what I mean? Like getting, because that is the same. It's the same thing. It's like, look, it's your body. You do what you want with it, but it doesn't mean that the other people need to find it attractive. So it's like, yeah, grow out your armpit hair if you want, but you're going to need to deal with the consequences the same way I would if I suddenly grew my nails out 6 inches. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but it's so gendered, isn't it? And hopefully we're getting away from that, in that, like, guys are allowed to have long armpit hair and it's like absolutely fine. But like if a woman has body hair is such a thing that it's such an upkeep that we're expected as like the norm, that I think that it's good that we're kind of getting away from that. However, I do think that if a guy has long fingernails, you're like, ugh. But I think it's because you think about them touching you.
Do you think I want to be spending all my time filing my nails, cutting my nails all the time? I don't want to be doing that, right? But the standards of society say that I have to, okay?
Okay, well, maybe you should stay in your lane. No, yeah, it's more as well, like, I don't like long fingernails on women. Like, I think it's all about cleanliness and hygiene as well. And I think when a guy has longer fingernails, it's usually that they're not really taking the time to keep them clean or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's maybe the kind of like musician type or the kind of hippie type that's a generalization, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's like, so we did get like submissions, like just some written submissions in, and like one of them that came up a few times was like shoes. And I think, to be fair, I think really the fingernails thing, as you say, it does come down. It's more like it's a sign if somebody's like really taking care of themselves or whatever. And like shoes is one of those ones as well. Like people say, oh, if they've got dirty shoes or whatever, then I can't be with them. Like, but it feels like I've seen like a few like girls say that that's like a big deal for them. To be honest, I don't even think I would really notice shoes unless they were properly, unless I don't know, I guess they were unnoticeable or they were too noticeable that you couldn't miss them. But I don't think I would notice shoes. But it seems it's those wee subtle things that women seem to pick up on. I think that kind of.
I have a lot of friends who the first thing they will look at is a guy's shoes because they think that it says a lot about your character. And actually, I suppose it does, because it kind of indicates what they think they're going to be walking for. Do you know what I mean? Like what does that make sense? Like
This guy's wearing sandals. I don't know what he's hoping for here. Middle of winter.
Yeah, like it's that kind of thing of like, okay, so if they're wearing like walking boots, they're that kind of outdoorsy type, or if they've taken a lot of time and effort to get really like trendy, beautiful like trainers, then they're maybe like quite into their looks or fashion or whatever. I think it's a good indicator.
What if they're wearing like a snorkel and those, what do you call
Flippers.
it? And flippers. Like, hey, this guy,
He's
he's going to dive. He's going to
he's
take a
so
dive.
fluid. Yeah. Eh, well, we've got a good submission chatting about shoes that we should maybe have a little listen to.
So I went out with this guy once, and he was actually a pretty decent looking guy, like quite tall, tattoos, long hair, musician looking type. Duh. But he had really bad taste in shoes. Like, he used to wear this, like, when he wasn't playing and he wasn't all, like, suited and booted or leather jacketed and whatever you want to call it. He used to wear these horrible sneakers that kind of look like badly baked Cornish pastry from a station stand with the quilted bits. And it was a bit cringy, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm not vapid, but I got eyes and I'm from the capital of fashion. So my best fashion friend, who's actually a professional fashion person, gave me a wonderful life lesson, which I wish I listened to more closely, which is do not date or sleep with men who have bad taste in shoes, because that proves lack of attention to details and commitment. If you can't commit to an outfit and complete it with a nice pair of shoes, that says a lot about your character. But yeah, I obviously had to, go out and learn the hard lesson myself. And what I gotta say is that with the lovely gift of wisdom and hindsight, I can say that she was 100% correct.
So there you go. So she mentioned obviously that she was from the fashion capital, which is of course Livingston, because it's got the Livingston designer outlet. Fashion capital of Europe.
It is great, Livingston Outlet.
I've never been there, to be honest, which probably says a lot about me. I probably don't pay attention to detail.
You can't commit to the outlet. Yeah.
So you can't. So do you agree with that? If you can't commit to an outfit, you can't commit to a relationship, and you don't pay attention to detail.
I would agree with it in the sense, more in the kind of taking the time to be like, do you know what? If you're going to do something, do it well. I think it's interesting. She kind of mentioned like, don't sleep with guys with bad shoes. And there is like a sexiness element of being like, if someone's got like kind of embarrassing or like lame, embarrassing shoes, it means that they've maybe not got like the best fashion sense. I think if you've got good fashion sense, you're quite confident, because I think people can sense if they've not got good taste, or they're not really like, oh, I don't really know what to wear, and da 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 da. It's that kind of thing of like being a bit unsure, not having the confidence to kind of like dress nicely. And yeah, I think if you don't have nice shoes, but it's that idea that if you don't have nice shoes and you don't take time to think of the finer details, maybe they're not going to be very good at sex, because they're not thinking about the foreplay, they're not thinking about the erogenous zones, they're not like taking in the small details. Maybe it's more kind of like a pump and dump type scenario.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think guys like sometimes guys just don't have that many pairs of shoes, and then it's like, what happens if it's easy for shoes and trainers and stuff to get dirty. Like, what if they got dirty on the way to the date? Say it was raining, like.
I'm fine with dirt. It's more the style.
More the style, I see. And what style would be best?
A nice classic trainer, or if someone's a bit older, that they have like kind of slight, not brogues, but like smart shoes.
What, brown brogues?
Yeah, like I think that is like, it also looks like an adult shoe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never been confident enough to wear brogues, because I don't know what they would. I think a blue suit people wear them with, but I don't really know.
But do you not think it's because we don't have like quote unquote real jobs? Like we don't go into an office. Yeah. So like I've had to go for auditions where I'm like going for the part of an office person. I don't have any shirts or like office fancy heels or whatever, because I don't have the need. And then you kind of miss out on the stage of being able to dress like an adult. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, unlike you, I've had a real job before, and I used to wear Chelsea boots. I like a wee Chelsea, but I like a wee pointy
A pointy
shoe,
number.
a pointy shoe, and I'd wear them. But I'd also wear like black jeans with them as well. So I wouldn't technically wear trousers. I do like dressing up and wearing trousers and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's interesting. So what other submissions did you get then? So we had some written ones.
Yes, so some written ones. So I've got when guys sit/stand with their feet pointing inwards.
Like
So-
George Osborne that time that he went on the Tory conference and done that.
Oh, none of those Tories can stand or walk normally, can
No,
they?
Theresa May.
The little
fucking-
dance.
Yeah, they're all a bunch of weirdos, man.
Someone said they got the ick when they get called pal by someone that they're shagging.
Yeah.
It's like,
I would
"Hey, pal."
only ever call pal to like a wee boy who like I used to have like neighbours and like the wee boy like kicked his ball over the fence. I'm like, all right, pal, yeah, go down and get it. That's fine. Like that's the only
Aw,
sort of
like
person I
Tiny
would call
Tim.
pal. Yeah,
I have got being keen. To give
Overly
someone
keen.
the ick, which is kind of, it's pretty standard, isn't it? Like, I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of people get the ick.
Yeah.
Then
that's one of the weird things is like there's nothing less attractive than someone who you're not into knowing that they like you. It's
Mhm.
weird. Like, there's nothing less attractive than someone being really attracted to you if you don't like them. It's weird. Like, why is that the case?
I know, and it's a shame because we should recognize, and it's almost like we don't believe it ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Of being like, oh, why do they like that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
But do you know why though? I think that's true, but it's because it's like we know that we are not worthy of this like worship in the same way that nobody is, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
if this guy's like to you, oh, you're just an absolute princess, and I would kiss the ground you walk on and all that sort of stuff, you'd be like, well, to be honest, like, I'm just a normal person, like, and it's probably not sustainable long term. Like, what if you get in a relationship with that person? Like, they're not, it's not going to work. Like, it would be weird, just somebody, going like hand and foot for you all the time. So I feel like, we realize that like we're all just normal, and it's like weird to treat somebody like this special thing. But do you know what it becomes like though? I think the real reason that we don't like people to treat us like, we're this princess or this, like some special thing, and why it puts us off when somebody's like far too into us. It's because really what they're doing is they're not seeing you as a person, they're seeing you as like a commodity. So it's
Yeah.
like they've convinced themselves to be complete, I need to get this person. The same way that like when you really want to buy a new iPhone or a new pair of trainers, it's like, I'm not going to be, that's what advertising tricks you into thinking, I'm not going to be happy unless I've got this product. And we have started to think that about each other as well. It's like, that's really, what is fancying someone than that? Like, I will be happy when I've got this person. But then the way, because it's like this weird transaction they want to have, like just
Yeah.
they just want to get, they want to get, they're not even thinking of you as a person, they're thinking of you as this object of their desire. That's, what I mean? That's,
Yeah.
they call it that, don't they? Object of desire. They see you as this object that they want to get for their own happiness. And then that's why when you interact with them, then it's fucking weird because they're not just being normal and treating you like a normal person. It's like, you're this thing that they need to get for their own happiness. And the reality is, if they did get you, they'd realize fucking, it doesn't make you happy anyway. It's like they've just, they're trying to overcompensate for whatever fucking issues they've got.
It's like when someone, like I've had guys in the past be like, oh, like, I think you look so great. I like love curvy girls. And I'm like, that's not a compliment in that I think being a curvy woman is attractive. But the thing that's not the compliment is making curves like an object that you're kind of, it's like fetishizing someone that is like, you don't know me, you don't know my personality, but you're getting put into that box of being like, I actually really fancy curvy girls. And it's like, oh, like, well done. But like, it's more than that. And I think I've read a lot of things about like Black women finding that a lot, with people being like, oh, I love like beautiful Black women. And it's like, okay, we'll take a step back because you're already like putting me in this category and you're not looking me as a person. And it's just, it's not on really.
Yeah, fetishizing them basically, which is
Yeah, and
in a way kind
objectifying
of
and
like more of a racist thing to do in a weird way, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's like you can really fancy the person, but fancy the person,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So we had another few contributions that were about things people had done to turn them off. So we'll play these ones here. So this is the first one.
So went on a date with this guy, real nice guy, and he had a beard and a moustache, which is absolutely fine, but his moustache was a bit overgrown and not groomed properly. And when we were drinking our coffee, he then went to kiss me, and his moustache was like all still wet from his coffee, and like I could taste the coffee off his moustache.
Yeah, that's not nice.
It's like just weird things like that. It's like, I suppose that guy just wouldn't have factored that in, that's what would have happened. Like, and just see when you associate that person with that feeling of like the wee wet moustache brushing, it must be weird. Like, actually, there was a girl that I hooked up with years ago, and she had like, she was really like really attractive, but she had kind of weird smelling hair.
Oh, really?
It
I
was
think it's
just
pretty
like,
hard to have weird smelling hair.
it just kind of smelled a wee bit damp, right?
Oh no.
But then she was like living in student halls, right? And I remember seeing her shower, and it was like dead wee. And I was like, maybe it's because of that. It was like, the shower curtain, or like,
Yeah.
it's just like so small that something would do the shower. But then I did meet her again years later.
And it was the same.
And we went back to, she was staying in a hotel, and we ended up going back, and it was the same. And I was like, nope, wasn't the shower.
No, I think it's funny though. Like, so obviously that last one, it's the fact that they should be very separate experiences. Obviously, like kissing someone and stuff, but I quite like coffee. I think I could have dealt. I think I could have dealt with that. I don't think I would have got the actual ick. It's more if it was like food
It
in
sounds
it.
like it would have been trying to sip coffee through a letterbox or something, though. Like, this wee,
What?
the wee hairs in the letterbox.
Oh my god. I'm
That's what
I'm just laughing at like that is such a specific era that every letterbox had those the little things.
Hey, listen.
I never see them anymore.
Listen, they're still going strong. Like, you need to get out of the West End, because
I
listen,
do.
only real ones have a letterbox with wee mustache brushes in it.
Do you know what was funny was her submission made me think of the Twits, and I was thinking, why am I so obsessed with the Twits? I've read so many other books, but it's that thing where Mr. Twit has like, he saves like it's like pilchards or something in his beard to like eat on later,
I
and
remember
that's what
that.
makes me think of it.
Yeah,
It's so disgusting.
saved food in his beard for later on.
Yeah, and would just like I was going to say peruse, like he would just go back to it and like eat it. Shrank.
Maybe that's what that guy was doing with the coffee and his mustache, and that lassie just had it without his
No, I'm
permission.
kind of judging myself because the more we talk about this, the more I really want a coffee, and I'm thinking maybe I'd be pure into it. Maybe she should pass on his number.
Right, so this next one now is a quite weird one.
So I've seen this guy, and he'd gone to his grand's grave to pay respects or something. It was an anniversary of some sort. So he went and he took a selfie of him and the grave, like the headstone, and then he proceeded to post that on Facebook, and it was his Facebook profile picture, it was his Instagram profile picture, and it was like everything's, any picture you can make it was that. And then I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know your grandma died," being all apologetic and shit. And he then proceeded to respond, "Oh, I didn't know her. She died 2 years before I was born, but I just like it for the sympathy." So I just told him we'd be better off as friends.
Oh my god.
Using your dead grand's grave as your profile picture. Oh my god.
That is so weird. I have seen people with pictures on their Tinder of graves, and I'm just thinking, why do you want that like conversation? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do you want those worlds to collide?
Gone but not forgotten. Heaven's gained a hero.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
That is wild. Have you like that's the weird thing about it is like so it's one thing to actually have done that if someone in your family that had recently died that meant a lot to you or whatever, but when it's somebody you've not even met to like do that level of like pretend grief, it's fucking odd as fuck.
Do you know, right, this is maybe this is a wee bit snobby of me. I just don't think you should put that much information about, like, I think that grief is private, and I think it's good to talk about grief. I think it's good to talk with friends about grief and continue to always kind of like talk about it and not kind of have any shame towards it. It's not that, it's the fact that when on social media, we don't know a huge amount of people that are our friends or our followers or whatever on it. And I just think it like feels a bit cheap to kind of like post about someone dying. I don't like it. I like to be like, do you know what? I know my relationship with that person and I don't need to kind of put it out there for likes,
Yeah, it's weird when you know somebody who like overshares stuff like that on social media and then like you bump into them and it's like you don't know them that well, but like you know about
that
this
they've lost
thing
someone.
and you're like, I shouldn't know this. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then you feel like a stalker for like going like, oh, you're right, I'm sorry to hear about that. And then it's like, oh, but I don't really know them well enough to even be saying this, but I've seen it because they've put it on social media. So it's a weird one, isn't it? But
totally.
That would be weird. The display pictures odd, isn't it? And then like just the thing that he's done, he's actually just admitted, oh, I'm just doing this to get sympathy likes. He was looking to get some grave pussy.
Oh, Mark. Mark. I really would like to like veto. I would like to ban you using the word pussy. It really, really upsets my soul.
He'd like to get grave boned.
I'll give you that. That's better. I'll allow that.
Okay, so that is definitely a weird behaviour, as is this next one that we had.
So basically, we had been seeing each other for quite a long time, and this person like loves to go to the gym and like really into like working out. And one day I was like over at his flat, and he just like we were sitting on the sofa together, and he just like whipped out his injections and was like, "Oh, do you know what this is?" And I was like, "What's that?" And then turns out it was like a tanning injection that you inject yourself with to make you look more tan. And I was like, no, you're not actually using them. Like, I know you do sunbeds and stuff. And then he proceeds to inject himself with it on the sofa whilst I'm sitting there like on his lap or like cuddled up. I was like, oh my god. It actually gave me the fear. Like, weird seeing someone inject himself with anything if it's not like insulin. It never worked out, safe to say, with this guy in the end.
Oh my god.
It's fucked up, man.
But also, I have some questions. So, how does that work? Is that a thing?
What, tannin injections?
Yeah, what is that?
I'd never heard of that before either, to be honest. Like, that is pretty extreme. Like, to want to get a tan to fucking inject yourself. So what are you doing? Are you like, is it
like making you more receptive to vitamin D or something?
Aye, what is that? What's that thing that ginger people lack? Melanin or something? Is it injecting yourself with melanin? That's fucked up, man. Like,
that's
I mean,
so weird.
And you go for sunbeds. Like, you are a tan junkie.
That's really, really gross.
If you're injecting yourself with fucking tanning needles, you are a tan junkie. That's it. You can't get enough of a hit just going to a sunbed, putting on fake tan. If you're injecting it, man, it's like no, it's not that. I'm just trying to start snorting it now. I've just snorted.
Oh my god, rubbing your gums,
snorting tanning cream and injecting it, because that is like it's like somebody being on heroin, like just gonna go up and you're just sitting watching them and they turn a different color after they've injected.
As if it's instant, just slowly their arm just gets more and more orange.
Yeah, that person must be like so into their looks, like. Because I suppose obviously these days like lip fillers and all that sort of stuff's like a big thing.
Yeah.
Is that another version of that? Do people just take a needle to everything these days?
Well, lip fillers give me the fear purely because I read that you just need to have like passed a course, but anyone can take this course and anyone can get these injections. And basically you're just like putting an unknown substance into like a very delicate. I mean, we kiss because we've got lots of nerve endings in our lips, and I
Yeah.
just think, like, I'm all about do what you want to do. If you want to do something with your appearance, like as long as it's not harming anyone else, like fair enough. It's just, but lip fillers make me sad because I just think that it looks. I think it can be done well, obviously, but it just makes me sad because I always think it's like putting poison like inside a really, really like sensitive part of your face. And yes, it's that feminist issue. And I actually had an argument with a woman, not an argument, a debate. I had a debate with an older woman who was a self-proclaimed feminist, as am I. But she was obviously like the older generation, and she was
Different wave.
yeah, different wave, pretty much. And she was saying about because I was saying that I really enjoy wearing like a bold lipstick, so like a bold red lipstick. Like I just feel more confident. I feel like kind of like it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like it's kind of like part of my identity, which maybe is kind of me overthinking myself a little bit. But do you know what I mean? Like I like to do it. And she was just like, well, I think it's really sad that you feel the need to do that to be attractive to men. And I was like, but you don't understand, this is like, this genuinely isn't to be attracted to men, it's because it makes me feel good. And she's like, yes, but what you don't understand is like the media has made you think that doing that is attractive, and the reason is because of the male gaze, that men find, you know, like a darker lip color like sexier, say, which I think is meant to be connected to like vagina lips or something. I don't know, but anyway,
Right.
let's not get into that.
That's another episode.
Yeah, I know.
We'll
But
be
I think,
covering
like,
that next week on
but
when
I
our
think,
guest will be Jordan Peterson.
but I think that I think like if you wore red lipstick, it was like you were a sex worker back in like Tudor times or something like that. So that's why like some people will be like, oh, wearing that for men or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not for men.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had that big chat about that. So I feel uncomfortable that I'm saying I think it's a bit of a shame that people are getting these lip fillers, because I'm kind of doing the same thing, and it's obviously a different ailment. But it just makes me sad because I think that this big fuller lip might be like, remember when like really thin eyebrows were in fashion, and now everyone's like getting their eyebrows laminated to be really thick and like bushy.
Yeah.
It's just trends. So I just think whenever it's something permanent like fillers or lip fillers, I just think, oh, maybe they'll not want that in the future, and you've kind of
Yeah.
already put it inside your body.
I know. I don't really know how it all works, but it does seem like you need to just keep doing it. I don't really know.
It's like
I don't know.
Botox and stuff.
People do what they want, but personally, I'd draw the line at when you're trying to find a vein to fucking top up your tan. Like, come on. And the
I know.
bathroom toilets at Asda, like, I'm telling you, it's just tanning lotion that I'm putting in this needle, honestly.
That's how little sun we get here.
Let me ask you this.
Yes. Shoot.
Can you ever think of a time when someone's given you the ick, or can you think of a time that you've noticed that you've given someone else the ick?
Yes and yes.
Okay. So what's a time where you've had the ick?
When I've had the ick.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was seeing a guy, and we were in bed together, and it was that kind of keen. I think he was more into it than I was, and I think I'd kind of he was like genuinely such a nice guy, and I really liked him, and he was really clever, and on paper completely like really liked his chat, but there was just something I couldn't put my finger on. Anyway, so we were in bed together, and he was like cuddling me, and I think I like rolled over so I wasn't facing him, and I was at his house, and he was like, "Where are you going?" And it was that kind of like urgency in his voice that like, it was one of those things where it's like, I'm obviously, it's not as if I was going to stand up and like put clothes on and leave. It was one of those things where I was just like, it was so keen. And as soon as that happened, I went, oh, like I can't. It was just a moment of being like, oh no, this is the ick, isn't it? Like complete that feeling of being like, I'm obviously not going anywhere. I'm like turning round in the bed. Like it was like a clinginess. And I will put my hands up like it's normally me. So I was kind of enjoying that this one time I turned round and it wasn't me.
You weren't the needy one for once.
Yep. Yeah. What about you?
A time that I've
That
had the ick for
You've
someone.
had the ick, yeah.
I don't know. Come back to me on that. Tell me first of all. And so, what's a time that you've given someone else the ick?
I can't put my finger on it because obviously you don't know what people are actually thinking, but I think it's just been times that I've been too clingy. Yeah, it'll have just been times that I'll have been like, my catchphrase is, but I really like him, is like 100% my catchphrase. And it's usually because I think it's because I'm a bit of a fantasist and a romantic. So I think that I kind of get an idea in my head and it doesn't really matter a huge amount about the person. It's like that I've kind of gone, okay, this is the narrative and like blah blah. Like and me and my flatmate joke about it, like if I'll like, you know, go on a date with someone and then we'll like refer to him as my future husband and all this. And it's like it's obviously a joke, but it is that kind of thing of like my brain's kind of thinking like, okay, well, like what's the next step and da, 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 da. And I think like sometimes I'm a wee bit early and I think I've got better at kind of hiding it or trying not to trying to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more laid back and not go too full steam ahead. But I definitely think that there's been times where I've been like, I really like you, and like maybe it's not at that stage or maybe it's not that kind of setup, and I think that's then made them go, oh, she's looking for something and I'm not.
That's always the way, isn't it? Like when too early on, you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, I actually like this one." Well, that's basically you saying, "I'm actually never going to get with this person because I'm too invested in it, and I'm going
You're
to fuck
giving
it
them
up."
a lot of power.
Yeah.
And it is that thing. As soon as you kind of don't overthink it, if you've got like kind of a couple of things on the go, people can kind of sense that you're more laid back. It's when you kind of give power to someone and go, well, I really like them, so like here you go and the ball's in your court, and do you really like me? And it's that kind of thing of being like, that's gonna end in tears.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I try to think of like one. Try to think of what either.
You've gone on dates and like there's been something that's maybe a wee bit irrational, but you're like, oh, I can't get past it.
Do you know what I find it hard to get past? See when like, oh well, this is one actually. See when I know that, like, I find out that they've maybe like slept with somebody before that I know from like school or something.
Yeah,
I'm a
you
bit
don't like that.
I don't know, like that, or like if they, that was actually what, like there was this girl and like we'd met on dating app, we'd went back and we'd hung out that night and stuff. And then she told me like, oh, you're from this place. Well, I know this guy. He's like, oh, how do you know him? Oh, well, I used to. But the guy was a bit of a fucking idiot, to be honest. And as soon as I heard that she'd been with him, I was like, oh, like if you thought, you know, you should have went with him, like, it doesn't say a lot about you, sort of thing. I kind of went off because of that, and it was bad. I know I shouldn't, like, I know it's bad, but I couldn't help it. I was like, oh, as soon, I just couldn't, like,
you couldn't get past it.
I couldn't disassociate the two, and
but it's so funny because think about the people that you've been with. Like, there will be some of them who maybe aren't like the brightest or whatever, and
we're talking about the brightest and the best. Nothing but that for me.
Premium. No, but do you know what I mean? Like, so we see that in ourselves of being like, oh, well, like if they like them and I think that I'm like smarter or whatever, but you know.
Listen, it was very judgmental of me, but look, you can't really help it.
It's irrational, but that's what the ick is, isn't it? Like it's just a feling in your body.
I remember taking this girl like to get. Sometimes I would just see if I was gigging, right? I would just, if I was doing comedy shows like a couple of nights a week, it's hard to fit around like dating you know, on other nights and things like that. You might not have any free nights. So inevitably what that leads to is just somebody, you need to, as a first date, inviting them to come and see you do comedy. And it's sometimes not a bad idea because, like, you know, you go up stage, you're talking to yourself, and you kind of you talk about a lot about your life, and it gets a lot of small talk out the way because, like, they find out some stuff about you and all that. And you know, obviously the upside is if it goes well, then like you look quite cool and whatever. But there's always the risk that it might not go well, which it happens sometimes. And then I remember one particular occasion, like, us came along, and it's like the gig had went, it just did not fly, and it just looked like, when you do a bad gig, it just looks like you are not funny, never have been funny, and never will be funny. And like, it looks like every single gig goes that way for you, and it's so up and down, it's unbelievable usually. But it just went so badly that I just never recovered from it, and went for a drink after, and it was like, I could just tell that she had just, like, she'd completely checked out already. She's like, oh my god, this guy's terrible.
Well, yeah, and I think we're attracted to funniness and talent. And I know 100%, like, sometimes a gig just, it's doomed from the start. Like, sometimes it's a crazy audience, sometimes it's just like a bad setup, maybe something weird's happened before.
Like, look, the lighting was terrible, you don't understand. Give me another chance, come on.
But I do think, like, it is that thing of being like, oh, like, you can't recover from that, really, because we are just naturally attracted to that kind of thing. This is a good one. It says, he got annoyed that I paid for my own drinks cause COVID. We had to order from app, so it was easier. So I think that's interesting because I think it's weird to get annoyed at things on a date. Like, I think it just is, it's a bad look, isn't it? To be like,
it should be such low stakes already that if someone gets upset about something from the get-go, you're like, no, like, this is the lowest stakes it's ever going to be. And if we're already arguing, then, you know, like, cash your chips now, because
it sounds like they're not very comfortable in their masculinity. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit kind of like,
the drinks thing is an odd one though, isn't it? Because, like, obviously, so it's like, you know, it's like a lot of people now will just, like, split the bill or whatever. Like, I mean, drinks, it's a bit easier because you can go around for a round, and, you know, and then if one person gets one more than the other, it's fine, as long as it's a guy. And but, like, if you go on for a meal or whatever, or you just get around the drinks and you get the bill at the end, it's like, if the guy offers to, like, says, shall we split the bill, it's still kind of a bad look. He should at least be kind of tacitly going, oh, I'll pay. Because otherwise, like, look, you can have all the things you want, but if the guy goes, should we just split this? That's going to give you the ick, surely.
I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on this because I feel very strongly on, like, I believe in equality. Surprise, surprise. Unpopular opinion, but I think that we're equal. But yeah, so I feel like I believe that we're equal. I work, they work. I'm so happy to do rounds. I'm all about fairness. Like, I personally think that it's a bit I just don't like having double standards. And obviously, like, women have a pretty hard time in the world. So some people would go, oh, you know, but, like, we've got this little one thing. But I think the whole buying a drink thing, it comes from, say, like, I don't know, like 50s, 1940s, 1950s. You know, there was that kind of like housewife thing of, like, the woman didn't work. I mean, obviously some women worked, but do you know what I mean? The whole reason that we got drinks bought for us was because a guy would be courting, he'd, like, ask them on the date, maybe they're, you know, at uni or whatever and aren't working, and so that was kind of why that was set up in that way. And I mean, if I was back then, like, I would totally, like, it would be nice to get drinks bought for me, I'm not gonna lie, like, it would be nice, but, like, I believe that I'm, like, a strong independent woman, and so I'm like, well, obviously I'll do rounds. I think a lot of people are like, oh, but he should still offer. And I'm like, well, I'm fine if a guy says, should we split the bill? I think it's nice as, like, a gesture, you know, like, as in, like, some people just want to offer or whatever. And I think that's, like, nice. But, like, I would also like to be the person who would also offer. Do you know what I mean? And say,
Yeah.
like, oh, like if you want to get the cinema tickets, I'll get the like drinks or whatever later,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it kind of annoys me when people are funny about that. However, I have gone on a date with a guy who he didn't ask me one question the entire date, and he'd bought his own drink at the beginning of the date, so we didn't even do rounds. We like went up separately and bought our own drinks, and I just thought, he's not asked me any questions, and he's not even asked me, do you want a drink? And that was the time that I was just like, nah, that's shite.
Yeah. Well, that's the big one you hear from women a lot, don't you? That like, if a guy doesn't ask you questions, just talk to himself all the time, it's like such a bad sign. So that, and he's not even fucking bothering to buy you a drink. Get him, kick him to the curb. That's what I would say.
I did, and I ended it early, and he was really surprised. I think he thought it was a good date, but I think it was a good date because he was talking about himself, so he was enjoying himself.
He probably enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly.
I was doing a lot of oh my god, yeah. Oh, and how did that make you feel? Yeah, he was loving it.
So we've got this last clip that we're going to play, which is from this guy who sent us one in. I feel like from the submissions that we've got, a lot of the time that the pattern has been that the things that give girls the ick have tended to be in weird stuff that guys have done. The ones, generally speaking, that guys send in tend to be things that it sounds like more of an issue that they should be dealing with themselves, really, to be honest.
I hope this is kind of what you're looking for, but I was seeing this one girl who was a bit strange.
Already there's a bit of warning signs there, aren't they? In there, because he's like kind of playing up to that thing of like, she was a bit crazy, you know, like that sort of the crazy female trope. He's already playing into that, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
No, but let's see what happened.
One night after the movies, sitting in the car, she wanted to cuddle in, night, and I'm saying to her, so what do you think of the film? What did your favourite part? Stuff like that. And she's just going, shh, but putting her finger like on my lips, and I'm like, well, okay. And then they say, I said, so how was your day? And then she goes, shh, again, and puts her finger on my lips.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, I like the silence. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I like.
Can I say that right? So basically, from the sounds of this, what is really going on here is that so they went to the cinema, he's dropping her off, or they're in the car or whatever. She's wanting to cuddle in, maybe get a wee bit close, and he won't stop talking. He just won't shut the fuck up. And she's just going, mate, if you just stop talking, you know, you'll probably come back to my place here. She's probably trying to do him a favour by like stopping him from
He's not reading
up.
the room.
He's about to say something that's going to give her the ick.
Yeah, she's anticipating it.
She's anticipating going, oh, I've been here before. I don't want to have another guy say some stupid shit to me and I have to just leave it there and no sleep with him. I'm just choking from a hole. And
I hate that phrase. No, but do you know what I would say about that is, why are they? So they've gone to the cinema and then they're just sitting in a car that's not on. So like, have they left the cinema? Are they outside one of their houses? Do you know what I mean? It feels a bit strange.
It's after the cinema. He's not specified where they are.
But do you know what I mean? Like, would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, well, like sometimes you would maybe like.
Would you cuddle in? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it feels strange.
Depends if they maybe like, you know, if you've not got, you know, both of your places you can't really go to or something like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's just normal. Like you maybe sit, you know, people like sit and have a wee smooch in the car after a date or whatever. That's a normal enough thing. I think it's a normal enough scenario. It's just weird that it's just like obviously
she obviously wants to kiss.
She wants to kiss, clearly, yeah. Although they're just cuddling and she's saying, so surely if you wanted to kiss, you would go, shh, and then you would kiss them.
Yeah.
But she's just not doing that.
I find the shushing very funny. Like, I think like in like a comedy sketch when someone goes, shh, I think that's hilarious.
It's just like quite abrupt, isn't it? It's like, oh, I've not got any time for your nonsense here. Yep. So let's hear what happens.
okay. And then they say, I said, so how was your day? And then she goes, shh, again, and puts her finger on my lips. And then she's like, I like the silence. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I like to keep my head on and not be killed.
What I don't understand, right, is why is he saying, like, why does he think he's going to be killed? Because she's saying she likes silence.
I don't know. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that unusual to say that you like the silence. It's maybe a little bit rude to say that you like the
Yeah.
silence, especially if he's like giving it all this chat. But I mean, if you just watched a film, it's in maybe a romantic moment. If you'd be like, "How was your day?" It's kind of like it's a bit like pally, isn't it?
Clearly, she was not into this date, right? Because they've already been to the cinema where they've sat in silence for at least a couple of hours watching the film. Then they've got out of the car. He's like, "Oh, what did you think of the film?" And she's like, "Shh, I like the silence." It's like clearly the whole thing is like, let's just get this over with. I cannot be bothered talking to this guy, whatever.
He wants
and
to cuddle though.
wants to cuddle, but then so he's going, "Oh, she's going to. I want to not get my head ripped off." Like that sort of feels like he's heard like women saying that about dates, and he's decided to go, "Oh, this is going to be my reaction," because like it just doesn't seem.
It's a bit of a jump, isn't it?
It's a bit of a jump from just somebody saying be quiet.
So I then text one of my pals to get me out of there. So yeah, so she's like shh to me after that, and then she's like I like the silence, and I'm like okay. So I try to get my phone out of my pocket to text one of my pals to get me out of there, and anytime that me and my pal are going out on a date or whatever, we always put chocolate cake dropped and a text ready to be sent, and if we need to be out of there.
Right, sorry, hang on a wee second here, right? So they're in a car, so clearly one of them is driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is their pal texting them or phoning them going to get them out of that situation at this point, right? So if you actually think like this guy does for some unknown reason that she's going to cut his head off, like, and he's having to text, like, you know, and that's the thing, like, obviously women do that a lot. It's like they've got the, you know, the emergency text or whatever. Like,
That's like a real safety issue, isn't it?
It's a real safety issue. But like, I don't know any guys that do that. Do you know what I mean? Because we've not fortunately get that fear, and it's a shame obviously that women need to have that, but like
yeah,
it's like what fucking guys doing that, and especially not like, I mean, there's a lot crazier things people could be doing than that to, you know, for it to get to that point. But like, I don't know what this guy's all about.
Also, chocolate cake dropped, like it's quite lengthy to be your emergency word.
How many times is this happening as well? Like what, like how many times? And I've never in my life had to text my mate and like to, as an emergency, just say, "Oh, I need to go home now," and she, if it's her driving, she'll just drop you off, and it's him driving, just drop her off. Like, I don't understand.
But the friend must be about to swoop in and save the day, right?
Yeah, we'll hear.
I'll just send this. So I sent that, but my ringtone at the time was the Benny Hill theme tune, and that went off at.
You know that modern song, the Benny Hill theme tune? Why would you have that as your ringtone? That would have given me the ick right there, actually.
I would say the Benny Hill theme tune is a huge red flag because it's like really misogynistic, like pure creepy. Is it like 60s?
Aye, well, right enough. Aye, the whole thing about Benny
It's
Hill,
like chasing women about. Like it's this old man chasing little like attractive thin women about.
Chasing women about, exactly. Aye, that's this is absolutely.
I don't know why he's volunteering this.
This guy's given us the ick like 3 times. This meant about her.
I feel bad.
Full volume. So then she is giving me the look as if I had just delivered her a shit-filled nappy with a dead baby in it.
Right, okay, and we're going to need to stop that there.
Oh my God.
I think you're the problem, mate. When you're saying weird phrases like that out of nowhere off the top of your head, you've got the Benny Hill theme tune, and you think that a woman's going to kill you because she's told you to be quiet. You've got a weird text that you send your mate to get you out of weird situations when you're on dates with women, when you're not, let's be honest, really in much danger. Yeah, like that I bet you this woman is completely normal and absolutely fine. There's nothing up with this woman. This
is
guy's a
it.
problem.
Classic. This is classic. This guy is 100% a frustrated stand-up, isn't he? Like he really wants to be to be the Frankie Boyle of his day.
Yeah, that was like in a 2004 Frankie Boyle line or something. Well, sub Frankie Boyle, like,
Yeah.
like obviously Frankie's good, but
The
like
shock factor.
yeah, pure shock factor thing. But for me, it's just like that is a prime example, that recording of, guys saying, "Oh, she was an absolute psycho," and then as
Yep.
they tell the story, you learn all the reasons why it's actually the guy that is at fault for everything that's happened. And right there, great example. Like, no wonder she was telling him to be quiet if he's hitting it with shit like that. For fuck's sake.
Oh God, I feel bad.
Well, I think that about covers it for the ick.
Can I just say that this is quite interesting that I don't have the confidence, and I think it's because I'm thinking about my safety that I'm thinking with him. I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to upset him because I don't want him to
come
be
after
raging
you.
with me and give me his shite chat.
Well, if you hear the Benny Hill theme tune, then I would start running. It'll be a reenactment. No, but we would like to say thank you so much to everybody who sent us in submissions, even if we've taken the piss out of them. They've all been brilliant. We really appreciate folks sending them in. We do, obviously, as well, for future episodes, we do keep them anonymous and stuff like that. So if there's anything you'd like to send us, obviously, we'll do that. The main thing we'd like you to do, if you can, if you've enjoyed these episodes, please do give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the rest of it, and wherever you get those. And obviously, as well, share it on social media and tell your pals if you can as well.
Yeah, that'd be really good. So if you want to give us a wee follow at Debating Dating on Instagram, if you'd like to slide into our DMs, feel free to give us a wee message, share, all that kind of stuff. And if you guys have anything you want to tell us about the podcast or about your experiences with dating, things you want us to cover that we've not covered before, then feel free to drop us a wee email on debatingdatingpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. So thanks very much for listening, guys. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode on the ick, and we'll see you another time.
Bye.
Speak to you soon. Bye.